In an automated factory, a worker performing quality checks was suddenly crushed when a robotic arm cycled into motion behind him, pushing forcefully into his back. Unaware that he was standing within the robot's operating path, he had no time to react as the programmed movement continued. What seemed like a routine inspection instantly turned into a severe industrial crush incident inside an active automation zone. This incident highlights the dangers of human exposure to robotic work envelopes. Automated systems must have safeguarded perimeters, like curtains, and lockout controls during inspections. Workers should never enter robot zones without proper shutdown procedures, and clear visual warnings are essential to prevent catastrophic crushing injuries. In a tire shop, a display tire suddenly exploded in a worker's face just as he was about to lift it from outside the store. The blast knocked him violently to the ground, leaving him curled in a fetal position as the shock and pressure overwhelmed him. Coworkers and nearby family members rushed to his side and immediately called for medical assistance. This incident highlights the hidden dangers of pressurized or previously inflated tires, even when not actively being serviced. Residual pressure, structural weakness, or heat exposure can cause unexpected ruptures. Tires should always be fully deflated before handling, stored properly away from heat, and inspected carefully to prevent serious blast injuries. In a wood panel processing plant, a jammed panel suddenly launched off the end of a conveyor belt and struck a worker directly in the head, knocking him unconscious. He tried to climb onto a raised platform to inspect the stuck board when the built-up mechanical tension released without warning, turning the panel into a projectile. This incident highlights the dangers of clearing jams on active conveyor systems. Equipment must be powered down and locked out before inspection, and workers should never position themselves in line with stored mechanical force. Proper guarding, training, and shutdown procedures are essential to prevent serious head injuries. In a backyard, a man cutting a large tree branch suddenly fell when the branch he was leaning his ladder against sprang upward after being partially cut. As the severed portion dropped to the ground, the remaining limb recoiled from the sudden release of weight, removing the ladder's support and sending both the ladder and the man crashing down. He fell with the chainsaw still in hand, narrowly avoiding even more severe injury. This incident highlights the risks of using tree branches as ladder anchors. Ladders must be placed on stable, fixed structures, and workers should use proper fall protection when cutting overhead branches. At an event venue under construction, a worker securing large canopy sheets was suddenly tossed violently when strong winds caught the unsecured fabric. The canopy acted like a sail, lifting and whipping unpredictably, slamming the worker a couple of times against the metal frame structure. This incident highlights the hazards of working with large surface materials in open, windy environments. Canopy sheets must be secured in stages, wind conditions monitored, and work paused during strong gusts. Using additional tie-downs, proper anchoring systems, and coordinated team handling is essential to prevent workers from being thrown or struck by shifting materials. Outside a gas facility, a massive explosion erupted moments after a worker noticed a leaking side valve on a parked gas tanker and shut it off. As he walked toward the front of the tanker to investigate the source of the leak, accumulated gas vapors ignited, engulfing the entire area in flames. The blast hurled debris from nearby structures and threw the worker off his feet with tremendous force. This incident highlights the extreme dangers of flammable gas leaks in open environments. Even after a valve is closed, residual vapors can linger and ignite from distant ignition sources. Gas leaks must trigger immediate evacuation, perimeter control, atmospheric testing, and elimination of ignition sources. At a roadside vulcanizing shop, a repaired tire suddenly exploded with tremendous force as a worker sprayed it with water to check for leaks. The tire detonated like an improvised explosive, blasting the worker off his feet and causing catastrophic injuries, including the traumatic loss of his arm. The shockwave echoed through the shop as debris scattered across the area, turning a routine post-repair inspection into a devastating explosion within seconds. This incident highlights the extreme dangers of working with pressurized tires. Inflated tires store enormous amounts of energy and can fail violently. Proper inflation cages, remote air lines, pressure limits, and safe positioning away from the sidewalls are essential to prevent fatal blast injuries. In a gas facility, a loaded gas cylinder suddenly tipped over during handling and crashed onto the floor, releasing a violent stream of high-pressure gas across the room. The uncontrolled discharge blasted directly into one worker's eyes as the cylinder flew. This incident highlights the extreme hazards of unsecured compressed gas cylinders. Tanks must always be stored upright, secured with chains or restraints, and handled with proper carts. Protective valve caps, eye protection, and controlled handling procedures are essential to prevent high-pressure releases that can cause severe eye injuries or turn cylinders into dangerous projectiles. At a logging site, a large log suddenly rolled off the top of a loaded truck and crashed onto a crouched worker's back as he removed the harness securing the stack to readjust it. The moment the restraint was loosened, the upper log shifted from its unstable position and dropped without warning. This incident highlights the extreme dangers of releasing restraints on stacked or cylindrical materials. Logs must be stabilized with mechanical equipment before any straps or harnesses are removed. Workers should never position themselves downhill or directly beside unsecured loads, as round materials can roll or fall with deadly force once restraints are loosened. In an automotive shop, a tire connected to an air pump system suddenly exploded, releasing a violent blast of pressurized air across the work area. The worker standing nearby was only inches from the direct line of force and narrowly avoided being struck as he instinctively rolled backward to escape. This incident highlights the hazards of pressurized air systems and tire inflation. Overinflation, weakened tire walls, or faulty equipment can lead to sudden ruptures. Workers must use proper inflation cages, stand clear of sidewalls, monitor pressure levels carefully, and ensure air lines and fittings are well maintained to prevent severe blast injuries. In a food stall area, a woman walking through a narrow space suddenly had her jacket caught in the spinning mechanism of a sugarcane juicer. The machine immediately pulled her in, trapping her arm and spinning her entire body with force. A nearby worker quickly rushed to turn off the juicer and free her from the mechanism. This incident highlights the dangers of exposed rotating machinery in public areas. Machines should have guards, emergency stop switches, and clear signage to prevent accidental entanglement. Clothing, jewelry, and loose items must be kept away from operating equipment, and workers should maintain constant vigilance around exposed moving parts to prevent severe injuries. At a house construction site, part of the second-floor structure collapsed while workers were pouring and spreading concrete. A section of the floor, already supporting the wet concrete, gave way inward without warning, causing two workers to fall through to the level below. This incident highlights the severe risks of incomplete or weak flooring during construction. Temporary support and load-bearing checks are essential before pouring heavy materials. Workers must use safety harnesses, scaffolding, and proper bracing to prevent falls, and structural integrity should always be confirmed before allowing personnel to work on newly poured or partially cured floors.